1987. With the 80s dying rapidly and the stiff but inexplicably bright 90s ahead, ninjas are experiencing a bit of a popularity boom at the time. Now, I'm talking proper ninjas, not mutated reptiles that go on to have increasingly disappointing TV series, or orange-jacketed annoyances whose series have run for about 7 years too long. Regardless, in 1997, Sega released Shinobi to the arcades. It's a side-scrolling beat-em-up with the usual thin story and very frustrating difficulty meant to suck up your quarters. And as with any even remotely popular arcade game of the time, it was eventually ported to home consoles and the PCs. The version I'm reviewing today, released for the Sega Master System in 1989, is by far and away the best version, mainly because it changed a lot of the more grating things from the arcade version. For one, Joe Musashi, the titular ninja Shinobi, it actually has a life bar now, and doesn't mean that he'll die in a single hit. Also, the bonus stages will now appear after each stage that you earn them instead of after each level's boss. Now, the graphics overall are definitely a step down from the arcade version, but overall they still look quite crisp and actually quite finely detailed. Definitely nowhere near as bad as the Nintendo version. Ugh. Now, the story of Shinobi is that a terrorist organization named Zed has kidnapped a bunch of school children, and it's up to Joe Musashi to save the day. You know, because ninjas, masters of stealth and assassination, are who the government calls when they need someone to charge head-on to a bunch of hostage takers in a broad daylight. Before going any further, let's talk a bit about the sound. Overall, it's not bad. Definitely a few catchy tracks. It's definitely not the best sound design I've ever heard for this era, but it's far from the worst. Just have a listen. The combat is pretty simple. Guys come at you, you throw a shuriken at them, or if they're too close, punch them, and they die. Sometimes they'll block it and you need to hit them somewhere else, like their feet or their head. Others might take a few hits to die. It's repetitive, but there's enough enemy types to actually keep things interesting. Another good change from the arcade version is that rescuing hostages is no longer mandatory, but you really should, since they give you sometimes quite good bonuses. Now, this can range anywhere from measly 1,000 points all the way to actually extending your life bar, all the way up to actually filling your life bar, and powering up your attacks, from your basic shuriken to throwing knives, grenades, and even eventually a gun. Needless to say, attack power-ups are required because you'll have a hell of a time fighting a boss with just your stock shuriken, whereas shoving a grenade or a gun in their face makes them go down far quicker. Of course, one of the hostage effects is to unlock the aforementioned bonus stage, which is done in the first person with you throwing shurikens at a bunch of ninjas running on platforms. If you take them out, you actually get access to one of several kinds of ninja magic, but of course you only get limited stock and they're all one-time uses. Of course, their effects range from freezing everybody on screen to pretty much obliterating everything, which is cool. At the end of each set of levels, you must face, surprise surprise, a boss, who range from a fist to a North Star ripoff called Keno, a ninja deploying helicopter that surprisingly you can punch to death, a room full of Hindi statues, a ridiculous looking samurai whose weak spot is about a single pixel wide on his helmet, and the final boss, Ninja Mask, who's so blindingly difficult I've never actually beaten him squarely. So, Shinobi on the Sega Master System. It's definitely hard, but it's also quite a lot of fun, and arguably the best ninja game of its era. But as always, they had to go and make a sequel.